you're going through a huge transition and what it means about shedding your old self and becoming who you're meant to be now. It means that every decision we make shifts our identity. Every portal we go through, we come out as someone else on the other side. I think that resistance is them sensing that we are about to exercise them and pushing back on us as aggressively as possible when they realize that they are being threatened. When you break down one part of your life and choose to rebuild it back up, it makes you realize that you can break down any part of your life and rebuild it back up. It's easy to fit in boxes. It's easy to go with the way that things are meant to be. It's easy to follow traditional paths. It's a lot harder to expand. It has been about 10 months now since I left my 9-to-5 job and started working for myself full-time, building a life around being a creative, being a business owner, my art, my poetry, my business, and just like resetting and realigning my lifestyle in a way that is not constantly pushing me towards burnout and feeling like I'm not fulfilling my true purpose in this life. And that shift was like massively transformative for me, but I also feel like I haven't truly processed a lot of the big realizations that I had until now. Like I'm just starting to understand how this big shift has really affected me in a much deeper way. And I realize it's a lot less so about quitting the job itself. Like that is the action that kind of triggered all of this. But I do feel like this is really more about a time in life when you're going through a huge transition and what it means about shedding your old self and becoming who you're meant to be now. And I think for me, the actual action that led to that was leaving behind my 9-to-5 job. But I think that that is just like the first action. Actually, this has been like a huge transformation and shift in my identity that is not necessarily related to the job or quitting the job itself, if that makes sense. I think anyone who's going through a transition, whether it's, a relationship, moving to a new city, or moving from like college into adult life, or going from being like in grad school to a full-time job, or someone that you love passing away, or leaving a relationship that you've been in for a long time. Like any of these major kind of decisions, these like canon events in our life that kind of break open our brain and then ask us to reshape ourselves and our identities and our lives. That's what we're talking about today. And I have realized a lot of things that I really would like to articulate. We're talking about the portal. And the portal is this idea that I've been really like interested in and kind of obsessed with recently. I have my little journaling about portals in here. So a portal quite literally means a large imposing entrance or door, often used metaphorically for a gateway to a new place. A spiritual portal is a conceptual doorway or a moment of vibrational alignment where the barrier between physical world and spiritual plane is thin, an intensified energy exchange. Portals are marked by moments of intense clarity, emotional shifts, heightened intuition. And so I kind of see it as like this point where the beginning and the end meet, and the end of something becomes the beginning of something else. There's this image that really like keeps resonating with me of the portal as like a large opening and then a small tunnel and then a large opening on another side. And it's like, you're here, you're entering the portal in this large opening and you're in the light, and then you go in and you're in this like enclosed darkness and you can't see anything around you, and you just kind of have to have this faith that you're going in the right direction and you'll come out on the other side into the light. So you know who you were before, and you don't yet know who you're becoming, so you're just in this kind of feeling of darkness. Every decision that we make is a portal. The portal is the space between one thing and the next thing. And so I really think what we're talking about is what it means to be in the portal. I've been in the portal, I'm still in it, and I feel like I can finally start to see like that light on the other side of who I'm becoming. And because of that, I feel like I'm now understanding a lot of things that I didn't before about what was shed on the other side of this decision. I wrote a post about this over on Substack that's a little bit more like formal, but I'm just gonna chat with you guys here. The first thing that I've really realized is that toxic patterns survive and outlive the thing that created them. The way that we're conditioned, I believe that we will find any way possible to retain the like mindsets and systems that we already have at play within ourselves. We look for ways to reinforce them without realizing it. Even if they're toxic and bad for us, they feel safe and familiar. So our nervous system, our body returns to these same patterns even if we don't notice it at first. So when you take out the thing, like after the action has occurred and happened and it's over, that is not going to break the systems that were drilled into you because of it. So for me, I'm thinking about work, but this could apply to, for example, like if you had a very traumatic childhood or a complicated relationship with a parent or something like that, you can cut off the parent and you think that that is like the be all end all. You make this decision, but actually all of the transformation still needs to happen after you've made that decision, because all the toxic patterns that were drilled into your mind from that time stay with you. They outlive that big decision that you made to cut off that toxic person from your life. For me, what I've learned in the last 10 months is that this really presented in me being addicted to stress and being really used to like urgent, emergency, fast pace, like people relying on me constantly for different things. So I noticed within myself that even without the 9 to 5, I was kind of allowing myself to reproduce situations that had this urgency, emergent feeling where I was always stressed out or feeling like I had to do something immediately. Like I was creating these effects or manufacturing these effects unnecessarily where they didn't always need to be. And I found myself, even when I was having like anxiety or thought spirals, I realized that the things I was getting anxious about were the things in my life where people were still relying on me. Like, for example, I run an arts organization, and I found, like, for example, if I couldn't sleep at night and I could feel my cortisol was spiked, I was anxious, I was thinking a lot, my thoughts would go towards that arts organization where people were relying on me for things, even if there wasn't anything truly that I needed to be stressing out about, even if it was things I always deal with and felt super solvable. And I think the thing is, I wasn't actually stressed out about that. I think my mind was pushing me towards thinking about the things that replicated the same patterns and situations and mindsets that I'd had when I was at my 9 to 5 job. I see this in a lot of other people too. Like they'll remove one shitty situation and replace it with another, or they'll remove a shitty boss and end up just being a shitty boss to themselves. They'll get out of one bad relationship and replicate it in the next one. Like our internal systems thrive on recreating and reinforcing themselves. So if you really want to move forward after these big shifts in our life, we can't just remove a toxic element. We then need to do the work to understand the systems that has drilled into us, figure out which ones we want and which ones we don't want, and move towards breaking them. Identify them and then move towards breaking them. The next one is that this shit takes a long time. Way longer than I wanted it to or that I expected. Sometimes I'll feel like I'm going a little crazy because I'll see videos on TikTok or something of people who left their job and they're making a video about it like 1 or 2 days later, talking about all of their like takeaways and how they feel now and all of this stuff. And I do get that. Like I did have some, realizations kind of right away, but at the same time, not really. Like I said before, I feel like I haven't really gotten to the point where I'm understanding what this change has meant for me until now. Maybe, there's some difference for me because I've had a lot of other responsibilities too outside of my 9 to 5 that have occupied my brain space that are just now starting to settle down, like all my dance contracts and the arts organization that I run, all of this sort of thing. So maybe that contributes to it, that I didn't have like a full break from all of my responsibilities, and maybe those people, that 9 to 5 was their only responsibilities. But anyways, this is besides the point. But I think my reality is probably closer to most people, where it takes a while to process what these things mean. Like most major shifts in life, while I'm happy and at peace with the decision, like I wouldn't have it any other way, there is still this sense of like grieving a past life or grieving another possibility, another path that my life could have taken. I told you guys it's been 10 months. I still feel like I'm decompressing from my job. I still have that feeling of like deep tiredness and burnout that cannot be fixed by sleep. And while I know that there's a lot of contributing factors to that, like our world being a shit show right now, for one. I do know that that feeling started at my 9 to 5 and has never fully gone away yet. Genuinely, I have to move slower now. And I get so frustrated with myself for it sometimes that I can't move like at the same pace that I was. But that's the thing, that pace was never natural, and I feel like I just haven't like fully recovered from it yet. But what I do know is that I still get little like jolts of anxiety when my phone buzzes. And I still sometimes will, before I go to sleep, I'll check my Google Calendar on my phone, like as if I have meetings in the morning or something like I used to. Constant checking was something that I feel like helped me manage my anxiety, but really was a negative coping mechanism while I was working my 9 to 5 and doing like all sorts of other things, that I would just like check my email, check my calendar, because I felt like being able to see everything and understand all the information would help me feel prepared for whatever was coming next. So now sometimes still I'll like open my Google Calendar before I go to bed, and then I'm like, girl, you don't have anything tomorrow. Like, you make your own schedule. Why are you checking this? So I can see the ways that like my mind is still decompressing from my job, and it's taking a long time. My life now is so much more open and free and like aligned with what I want to be doing, and yet my burnout is hanging on for dear life, and I would like to get rid of it. So I guess just know that like if you're going through a big time of transition, and whatever it might be, whether it's burnout for you, whether it's like grief or something else, some other big emotion that, you know, there's like socially acceptable amounts of time for you to get over it, just know it's probably going to take a lot longer than you think, and that it's not linear, and that once you take these structures away, sometimes it takes a while to figure out what life is meant to look like after that. The next one is about like the feeling of resistance and friction, and it really does relate to like those first two things that I said. The most resistance seems to arrive when we realize that something is not serving us, or that something's no longer working for us, and we start to break the pattern, or we start to set a boundary or stop doing the thing. My suspicion, and what I've realized over the last 10 months, is that that moment when we're feeling that extra bit of resistance, when we could easily say, this feels wrong, and turn around and do something else, or go back to the way that things were before, I think that likely means at that moment that we need to keep pushing and continue forward even more, with even more determination, and get through to the other side. I think that that resistance is actually these like negative aspects of our lives, or these patterns, again, that have been drilled into us. I think that resistance is them sensing that we are about to exercise them and pushing back on us as aggressively as possible when they realize that they are being threatened. It's our minds trying to protect us. It's our minds trying to keep things the same as they have been, because that's how we've been surviving. So when they feel that we're about to clear those things away and do something new, they resist it. And that is natural. That's how our brains work. I have genuinely felt over the last 10 months the things that I'm clearing away resisting their demise. I feel this like deep sense of anxiety when I realize that it's time to move on from something and start taking the steps towards doing so. But what I also know is that whenever I'm feeling super heavy, like when that anxiety comes in and I push through it and I face it and I keep going and I listen to my intuition, that's when the most light comes in on the other side. The next thing that I've learned, and kind of sign of shedding an old self and becoming a new self, is just that I am craving solitude all the time. So if you're craving isolation and solitude, consider that it may not be like a bad thing, but that it's potentially an indication to you that you're shedding a past self that's not working for you anymore, and that you need to be spending time with you, with yourself, with your soul, and with your heart. And in the past, I will say I've definitely used self-isolation as like a negative coping mechanism, or when my anxiety is bad, I will like remove myself from connections more so. But I can tell that this is different. And what I've been able to identify about it is I think that I've just had like the noise of the world pushing in on me so aggressively for the last 6 years, and to some extent for my whole life, but just even more so in the last 6 years. I spent most of my 20s giving all of my energy to others, to making other organizations better, to helping other people's ideas and dreams come to fruition, to raising funds for other people to make art, to, you know, spending my time listening to other people's fucking office drama that I don't give a shit about. Like, I just feel like there was so much input the last 6 years, and once I made the choice to leave some of that behind and channel some of that energy back into myself and my own dreams and my own desires and my business and my art, suddenly I just had like zero desire for any of the outside noise anymore. I just had no interest in it. I don't want input. I want silence. This is kind of a separate but related point, which is that I just like cannot take bullshit anymore. Like, I can't put the filter that I used to have back on. It's not possible anymore. Like, I'm so sick of people who only relate to each other over negativity and gossip that they have to complain about in their life. Like, I almost feel like a boring person now because I have nothing to complain about. I think so often when people get together and talk, they're just talking about all of the negatives in their lives. They're talking about drama, they're gossiping about other people, and I have so little interest in that. Like, I live a much richer life inside my own head. And, you know, this doesn't mean that I'm like ghosting everybody. Like, I love my communities and my connections and people that are in my life. It just sort of means that I'm not like craving that as much right now. And I think that that's okay. What I'm finding is that when I allow more space for solitude and quiet and peacefulness, that's where my own mind and my own thoughts and my own dreams are what gets to be loud. Finally, for the first time in many years, I'm like listening to myself more. And I think that that's more important than anything else right now. I hope eventually I'll get to a place where, you know, connection and community are things that I'm reprioritizing again, and that in an authentic way that feels right. And I just know that right now I'm not craving that. And I think it's really representative of shedding who I used to be and becoming someone new. The last one is that this choice was unexpectedly a massive like snowball effect or domino effect. I definitely knew that quitting my job was gonna change things for me and like open up my life to a lot of different possibilities, but I did not know that it would like spiral into having realization after realization about the other things, the other systems that weren't working in my life. For example, I didn't know that leaving my 9-to-5 job would also make me realize, for example, that I didn't want to be a company dancer anymore, or that I was staying in the Boston area for not great reasons, and that I actually really wanted to leave Massachusetts. I never thought that that one decision was going to lead to so many other realizations in other parts of my life about things that weren't working. And I think a lot of it is that I was fulfilling the desires of a past self who I was not anymore, and needing to realize not just that I was leaving a job, but also shifting my identity and starting to learn who I am now, and realizing that that person actually wants different things. It's this weird thing, like when you make a big life-changing decision and then suddenly like everything kind of loses its meaning, like nothing matters anymore in a really good way. It's an everything everywhere all at once situation where you like see every possibility of your life spread out before you, and you realize that you can grab onto any single one of them because you've made a choice that shifted things. So that means you can make any choice to shift anything. When you break down one part of your life and choose to rebuild it back up, it makes you realize that you can break down any part of your life and rebuild it back up. And this is scary to us because it means that our identity is not based off of these things that we do or these organizations we're a part of or these titles that we give ourselves. It means that identity is changeable. It is not static. It's something that can shift. And that means that every decision we make shifts our identity. Every portal we go through, we come out as someone else on the other side. And for me, this one change started a massive like domino effect of shifting my identity as a whole, and that's really not something that I expected. Those are my major realizations, and I feel like there's a lot of like subcategories to these, but I think in general, if you're like an artist or a creative person and you're seeing life through this lens of constant transformation and becoming, or if a big like life shift has kind of pushed you into having to think about things this way because you're realizing that life isn't exactly what you thought it was before something broke you down and now you have to build yourself back up, like it can sound kind of romantic to like forge a non-traditional path, but I think it's actually super, super difficult sometimes. It's easy to fit in boxes. It's easy to go with the way that things are meant to be. It's easy to follow traditional paths. It's a lot harder to expand. It's a lot harder to understand yourself. It's a lot harder to realize that your decisions are what's impacting you and your future and your possibilities for your future. Expansion is a lot more difficult than being small. And when you feel yourself starting to expand, all these little things start to kind of break apart. And for me, that's been a really positive thing, but it's also meant, you know, a lot of journaling and a lot of existential crises. So I would love to hear from you all, my friends, about what has happened to you in your life that has like broken you, that you had to rebuild back up. What choices have you made that have shifted your brain chemistry, and what did you realize about life that you didn't know before? And if you need any encouragement for today, what I have to tell you is that this should be a positive thing. All of this difficulty around shedding who you were and becoming who you're meant to be, it means that you get to choose. You get to build the life that you want to live. You can change your mind. You can decide that you want to be something else. You can get everything that you ever wanted and realize that it's not what you want at all and change and do something different. Please tell me someone relates to this and that I don't sound crazy. I would love to hear from you all in the comments, and let me know if you'd like more woo-woo sit-down videos about life and all of the things I'm questioning about existence. Because I think one of my favorite things is like this ability to articulate something that I'm feeling. My biggest fear in life, actually, I think, is the inability to articulate a thought or a feeling with words, with language. Anyways, that's a topic for another day. If you've sat through this whole thing, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you watching. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel because it helps me out. I'm trying to do YouTube more. I love you guys. Thank you for being here, and I will see you in the next one.